So how has the weather changed in this part of the world? In some areas the rainfall is decreasing, but I think overall we're getting more extremes. So there's some suggestion, for example, that the return periods of the extreme La Ninas will decrease. In other words, we'll get more of them more frequently. So that's an interesting condition. In between, we have severe drought. So we can go from the worst drought to the worst flood very, very quickly, and that seems to be the story. The other part that's quite interesting is the decrease, not entirely, but the decrease in tropical cyclones in the Coral Sea and in the Gulf of Carpentaria. There's been a decrease overall. We still get the odd one or two, but whereas back in the 1970s, during a La Nina, which is when we should get most tropical cyclones, instead of getting 20 or 30 during the summer, we're getting 2 or 3. And we've known this pattern has been developing for about 100 years, very slowly, but that change seems to be accelerating. So we're getting fewer cyclones with each year. So during these major La Ninas, like we've had the last couple of years, we're getting more tropical low systems, which gives Brisbane and Gympie floods and so on, but we're not getting the big tropical cyclones. Still get the odd one or two, they haven't disappeared altogether. So that's an interesting characteristic that was unexpected, because the sea temperatures are warming, but something's happening in the upper atmosphere to stop the cyclones from developing. So that's the key feature. This is a very important point to consider when we're looking at climatic systems in this state, particularly in Queensland, particularly in this part of northern Australia, is that it doesn't only affect producers, which has a massive impact on farmers and growers, but it extends right through to transport systems, it extends to the mills and processing factories and so on. It extends even through to exports and trading. And it's all different people, different types of people involved in making decisions. So we have a pet expression that we've developed through doing this work over the years, and that is climate information, especially climate forecast information, has no value unless it changes a management decision. So somehow this has to fit a management decision, and that extends way beyond the farm gate. And it can go into sugar mills, it can go into processing areas, it can go into the transport operators, and it can go into the agencies that buy and trade and sell the produce from Queensland. And if anyone doesn't understand along that value chain what's going on, then the system can collapse. And the big drought years and the big flood years, as we had in 2010-11, and the beginning again now in parts of Australia, can do enormous damage in that respect. So everyone has to join in. So in the work that I've been doing over the years, you have to change your uniform depending on which group you're speaking to. If you're speaking to a trading company in Brisbane compared to a producer out the back of Hughenden, it's quite a different story, quite a different language. So that's part of what we have to do to make this understandable and give people ownership, so you can get away from the expert just giving out the forecasts. That will then get some uptake, and we might then start to make a few changes and help with decision making, which is what it amounts to. It's what decisions you're going to make. It's the most important part.